Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today, and we're talking about the industry darling when it comes to events, E3, and it's back in 2021 after taking a year off to, take a vacation, relax, recharge. Now they are back, and no longer will we have to deal with a scattershot of summer events throughout the entire games industry, which I think is just music to a lot of people's ears. Certainly mine, because we were seeing these events that continuously under-delivered, and so while E3 has a couple issues that I think I'll end up bringing up today, I am excited to see something at the center of our industry, bringing everyone together, having a centralized place of good announcements where you can expect some pretty banging stuff. So with that, let's go over some general E3 details for those who don't know them, and then this conversation will narrow down to Xbox and Bethesda and what we can expect from them. But first, a word from our sponsor. This video is sponsored by Skillshare.
Wait, what? That's not fair. Hold on, wait. Oh, come on. Oh, okay. This game's not even that good. I bet I could make a better game, honestly.
Hey kid, all right, you think you can actually make a game? All right, then why don't you go ahead and do that, Why don't you go ahead, make the game better than ours? I'd like to see you try.
Hey, that's a good idea. I know exactly where I'm gonna go to get that started. Skillshare.
All right, and to get started on my game, I headed over to Digital Concept Art Designing Creatures by Justin Gobby Fields as my first lesson. In this, he taught me how to use ZBrush, a 3D sculpting tool, to create creatures, and then how to hop into Photoshop for the final touches to make it much more professional. It's only a 3-hour total course to get you well on your way, and I thought this type of stuff was great because if you're uncertain about what's next, right, we're in the middle of a pandemic, some of us are having trouble putting our feet on the ground, this type of stuff is great. Put something at the core of your day, something that gets you productive, that gets you motivated to learn, and there's so many different options beyond this. So if you are interested in this, the first 1,000 people to use the link in the description down below will get a free trial of Skillshare premium membership. Just go ahead, click that link, sign up, and after that, it's only around $10 a month afterwards. So with that, get cozy, let's take a look at some of the E3 details, where it was officially announced on E3's official Twitter account, where they had the following to say. Welcome back. It's been hard waiting quietly as we got ready for today, but we're thrilled to officially announce our plans for June 12th to the 15th. Afterwards, they did confirm in a separate tweet days earlier, E3 2021's digital show is a free event to all attendees. We're excited for you all to see the real news on the event very soon. So there was a concern with E3 early on that there was going to be a paywall where you'd pay for a digital ticket and you'd see things like game demo access and you'd be able to put your hands on pre-release content. And this was a way for the ESA to generate money for the show. And obviously, it would also keep it where you could have games get into the consumer's hands rather than us, like myself and many other different members of the industry, playing them and then talking to you about them. We were actually able to put them in the hands of people who are watching the show, which I think is a great idea in one way, but a paywall, I don't know about that. So they got rid of all that. It's happening June 12th to the 15th. That starts on a Saturday, a little bit different from a typical E3, which starts on a Tuesday. I think that's just because of the digital nature of the show. E3 typically started on a Tuesday because you had all of the showcases beforehand. I think because they're going to be rounding in the showcases to, I put this in quotes, days of the event, end quote, that means that really what's happening is we're seeing showcases, a digital stream, previews, all that stuff throughout those 4 days, but the showcases are going to be in the front of E3 streams, as I think we've seen in the past, where the showcases come first and then myself and others would enter the ground floor Tuesday to Thursday, play all the games, make all the videos, talk about them for all of you out there. Really miss those times, so this is like a hint of normalcy that's really nice to see. Speaking of things that are nice to see, Phil Spencer was hyped about this. He said, glad to see the industry coming together again in June for a digital E3. This and other summer events are proof that our industry is strongest when we work together. Looking forward to sharing what we have in store this summer. Continuing on, IGN had a pretty good report on everything happening with E3, confirming that the appearances of Nintendo, Xbox, Capcom, Konami, Ubisoft, Take-Two Interactive, Warner Bros. Games, and Koch Media would be in place at E3 2021. Sony is missing, as is EA, Square Enix, Sega, Bandai Namco, who had their event leak for Bandai Namco Next, which I imagine we're still going to see digital events throughout the summer. Bandai Namco Next, for those who don't know, if you watched my Elden Ring video, we talked about that because that was a leaked trademark for a digital style show, where I imagine we'll see the next Dragon Ball game, we'll see Digimon Survive, we'll see Scarlet Nexus, maybe a promotion of that because it'll have already been released by then. We'll maybe see Elden Ring there. And so you're going to see other companies do those digital type of shows still, because there is a very valid argument to make that with E3, your great game, like I mentioned Digimon Survive, that game looks awesome, but that game can get swallowed up by a bunch of titans that are being announced at the same time. So often it's like, hey, let's give our games some room to breathe. And it's good for everyone because now everyone can put their attention on different things. That's one thing I liked about the scatter shot of digital events. We had time to see it, think about it, talk about it, what was right, what was wrong. And so we will still be seeing that, but some companies are joining in, some are not. The ESA makes it clear that the partners marked early commitments so other publishers and developers could come on board at a later date, meaning that those developers and publishers can't expand. And they said that after announcing the show that E3 would return in a digital-only event, it would be live press conferences and a 4-day-long video stream that would be a reimagined and hyper-engaged digital experience, whatever that means. But now, as promised, let's narrow down this conversation a little bit. Let's talk about Xbox. Let's talk about Bethesda, because these two go hand in hand nowadays. Typically, every year I do some type of Bethesda E3 predictions, and we will do that in the month of May, talking about both these companies when we have more info. But right now, I'm going to talk about what I hope to see and what could be a general expectation. With Xbox starting things off, yeah, I'm really hoping that we drop this whole CGI act here, because for the last year, they've really pounded that in. We saw Hellblade 2 in CGI for the first time. We had a gameplay event from Xbox in May, and that was all CGI, like mind-boggling stuff there. And then afterwards, we've seen Avowed in CGI. We've seen Fable in CGI. I mean, we've seen State of Decay in CGI. Everything's been in CGI. So Xbox on paper has a great game plan. They got all the momentum. Balls in your court. Hit everyone with the biggest right hook imaginable, right? Knock them on their ass a little bit. Try to go for it, because the problem here with the CGI only thing is on paper we can look at Game Pass gaining momentum, but everyone's always talking about these exclusives, and right now they're just ideas. Fable is an attractive idea because I have memories of Fable 1 and 2, but I don't know what Fable from Playground Games is going to look like. Hey, Perfect Dark coming back. That sounds great. I actually enjoyed the Perfect Dark games on 360, which I sometimes see people have a problem with. Seeing it's coming from the initiative, what does that look like? That game's many years out, so I understand why we're waiting on that a little bit. But something like Avowed, is it too soon to show something along those lines? My point being, start showing actually the games. Give people things to be excited about within your ecosystem, which is Phil's favorite word, by the way, I know. But seriously, give them things to be excited about outside of Game Pass third-party day one editions. That's great value there, but keep that momentum, sustain it. Obviously, there will be big additions to that announced at the show. That's pretty much a guarantee. But really, where they're going to hit hard is saying, you can only get this here. And we'll talk a little bit about Bethesda and what they could bring to the table for something like that. But with Xbox, I just hope they drop this act of doing CGI stuff constantly. Like, I want to see the actual games. So fingers are crossed when it comes to that. Let's shift our attention to Bethesda, and as well as the structure of this Bethesda Xbox showcase, because it's very well possible that things could be different from what we've typically seen in prior years, because Bethesda and Xbox were not one. So this information comes from GamesBeat, where Jeff Grubb writes, a strong E3 with Nintendo, Xbox, and Konami means that we should at least hear about a number of big games from well-known publishers. Nintendo didn't have a summer direct all last year, and Microsoft spread out its Xbox announcements across multiple events, and maybe of those were delayed for weeks at a time. This year, assuming we do not encounter another global crisis by June, Nintendo will return with another full-scale general direct showcase. Microsoft, meanwhile, will package together Xbox and Bethesda into a back-to-back showcase with games like Halo and potentially a new Forza and Bethesda's spacefaring role-playing adventure Starfield. So yeah, I've been sort of beating the drum since the first day of this year on my Twitter account. You can go ahead and check it out, that this was the year of Starfield. And so that is something that you should be at the very minimum expecting at E3. That is something I've said for a while, so that may not be the most new dosage of Matty commentary for you, but I'm going to say it again, that this is something that should be expected, because here's what's kind of happening is that a lot of pressure is on Halo Infinite. And you may be like, well, what does that even have to do with anything? Hear me out. Halo Infinite right now is sort of the caveat game. You've got all the chips on the table for Halo Infinite. A lot of the talk is, what if Halo Infinite fails? What happens to Halo? What happens to Xbox, right? All the chips are on the table for that because it's the only fall game we're really looking at. Think of it like this way. We talked about this on Defining Duke. If Horizon Forbidden West was to fail, if God of War 2, whatever that's going to be called, was to fail, we would not sit here and go, PlayStation's done. PlayStation's struggling. And I'm not going to be hyperbolic and say people would say the same for Xbox, but there is a bigger concern with Xbox's exclusive outlook where when you look at one of their games failing, you have a concern for the rest. Whereas with PlayStation, you have an Order 1886, you have, in my opinion, Days Gone. You have these games that have flashes of potential, but overall, I didn't feel actualized into anything enjoyable. And so you go, well, you got all these other games, not really cause to worry. You can't hit a home run every time you step up to the plate. Sure, makes sense. With Xbox, it's a little bit different. You don't have that type of conversation. It's like, if Halo fails, oh shit. So I'm thinking, start to show these games off a little bit just to pull some attention off of Halo. Not in a bad way. Halo will absorb a lot of attention, but more so the idea of show Starfield, show Fable, show Forza. Get people talking about other games outside of just Halo. Because then if Halo fails, you can say, at least there's Starfield, at least there's Fable, at least there's Forza, at least there's Avowed, at least there's XYZ. You get what I'm saying? That is the problem right now with Xbox, is that have a lot of great ideas on paper, but we've only seen Halo. We've only seen Halo. So that's why I'm saying expect a Starfield reveal, if anything, just to give some attention to something else so it's not just Halo. And now, obviously, Bethesda is going to operate within their own interests, and they will delay this game if they need to. And there's a good chance they do. I've said that as well since the start of this year, that Bethesda will have no problem delaying this game into the spring of next year if they need to. And hey, that's fine. Like, that's cool with me to see staggered out releases and see the Bethesda Game Studios game come out not in the fall. I gotta be honest, like that'd be kind of different. That's the first time we'll see that since Oblivion, and I've said that multiple times before. Oh boy, broken record alert. Okay, so anyway, point being is, I think that there's a lot of chips on the table here, and if Xbox really just has an all-in moment, they could have a insane E3. Not to say that others can't, because we don't know about third-party deals on the table. We don't know about Game Pass editions, back-compat editions. I would love to see more backwards-compatible titles. Like, they have an opportunity where enough pieces are in place where they could literally boom to everyone, and including one of your main competitors, one of, not the only, one of your main competitors, PlayStation. To be able to say, like, hey, this summer you're shutting down your PS3, PSP, and Vita stores, and we just added 10 more games to backwards compatibility for 360. That says a lot. It's like they did this, and that, right? Because we know they're gonna have the big games. We know they're gonna have the big announcements. Like a Halo capping off the show or something like that. But what they're also saying here is that in the article, we'll have a back-to-back kind of showcase with Xbox and then Bethesda. That's pretty cool, right? Because you can have a slew of announcements for indies and big games from Xbox where you have a position to focus on, say, a Fable or an Avowed, and then turn your attention directly, or even, by the way, I keep throwing them out there, Compulsion Games. Put some love on their name. They're the ones who brought us We Happy Few. Not the best game, but that studio has a lot of potential, and if they don't have to procedurally generate everything, watch out. They're going to be dangerous. But when it comes to the actual presentation itself, to get all of those games and afterwards know, like, hey, knowing Bethesda's habits, they'll probably have teased Starfield by that time, late May. That's typically when they do it, late May, early June. Being able to say, like, hey, we're going to get Starfield, and we're likely to see a new Wolfenstein, and we're likely going to see something for Tango, from Tango with Ghostwire Tokyo. Granted, that has nothing to do with Xbox, but still, there's an excitement there, and there's a sustained absorbing of the oxygen within the industry and taking everyone's attention off of everything else and dominating in 2 consecutive showcases. It says a lot. So I think that they have the chance to really just blow the roof off the place, quite honestly, and I'm very excited to see what they do. So those are just some of my thoughts on E3 and generally what's going on with Xbox and Bethesda. With that, I leave it in your hands. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments down below. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. Big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who continue to support the hell out of the content here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.